kids with ADHD and problematic gaming and how to avoid it. In this video, I'm going to share with you strategies you can use to prevent gaming from becoming a problem for your child with ADHD. Recently, I completed a continuing education program in problematic gaming, so I wanted to share strategies with you that I teach in my membership site about how to avoid problematic gaming in kids with ADHD. Let's start off by discussing the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended screen time for all kids. They suggest no more than 1 hour on school days and no more than 2 hours on weekend days. Now, do many parents go over this? Yes. I don't think that's a problem in many cases, but it could be a problem for many kids with ADHD who become easily emotionally dysregulated around video games. Here are my strategies I teach for creating healthy gaming habits in kids with ADHD. Number one, video games are not an entitlement. They are something that should be earned for meeting daily expectations. I teach how to set this up in the Creating Daily Expectations course, which is part of the ADHD Dude membership site. What I suggest is breaking up daily expectations in between behavioral expectations and helping around the house. These vary by age, but one of the things I do recommend are that expectations should be achievable. We want kids to feel successful, and also please keep in mind that the time horizon for kids with ADHD is shorter than it is for kids without ADHD, so it is important that in order to motivate kids with ADHD, we have to have some kind of incentive in place that's rather immediate. For example, saying to your child, do your homework all week and then you could have Xbox on Friday, that time horizon is too long. That's not going to motivate them. On the other hand, we can give them a limited amount of time on a weekday for meeting daily expectations, and that way, that is motivating their behavior towards meeting those expectations. Number two is monitor game content. You should know what your child is playing. I will tell you what I teach parents, particularly those for younger kids, is to stay away from games where there is anything morally questionable. For example, in a game like Minecraft, there's really nothing morally questionable in it. In Roblox, there are some morally questionable games, so that's why you have to know what your child is playing. I will tell you, my son's psychiatrist once told me she has been able to not raise kids' medication by keeping them off of violent video games. For some kids with ADHD, violent video games absolutely does affect their mood and behavior, and for others, it does not. Next, implement a strategy to help your child transition from a preferred task like video games to non-preferred tasks. In Executive Function Crash Course, I teach a strategy to make time as well as an upcoming transition visible, because when kids can see an upcoming transition, it makes it easier for them to get off video games without a fight or an argument. I teach parents that if their child becomes dysregulated around video games or when it's time to get off, they should require this strategy as part of their child's being able to play. So if they're not willing to use the strategy, then they're not playing. My last strategy, your child needs to have other interests besides video games. They need to be involved in other activities. Now, sometimes when I explain this to the parents, they'll say things like, well, my child doesn't like anything but video games, or I tried to get him in this activity, but he won't go. In that case, make participation in an activity one of the daily expectations. You need to step into your parental authority and let your child know that this is how things work in your house. And because you provide them with expensive things like video games, they're going to have to meet your expectations if they want to have those privileges. In too many families of kids with ADHD, I see parents accommodate their child's inflexibility around doing any type of activities. And I can promise you, if you continue to accommodate your child's inflexibility, it will get worse with age. That's why you need to require them to participate in some kind of activity, whether that's at school or in your community, and ideally it's one that involves some kind of physical exercise. Last thing I want to mention, the typical strategies you might hear from an ADHD coach or see in an ADHD book, such as using timers, giving 5-minute warnings, using that red countdown timer. Those things do not teach kids how to sense the passage of time, which is why I don't suggest them. They also don't show visual transitions coming up. So the bottom line is, I don't think video games are a problem for kids with ADHD. Rather, I think excessive gaming can become a problem for many kids with ADHD, and the lack of strategies in place like the ones I mentioned here, and the lack of daily expectations in place also can be a problem as well for many families. So put daily expectations in place for your child earning video games, use the strategies I outlined here, and limit game time, and I think you'll find things will go much smoother in your home. Thanks for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Take care.